You're listening to the B&H Photography Podcast. For over 40 years, B&H has been the professional source for photography, video, audio, and more. For your favorite gear, news, and reviews, visit us at bnh.com or download the B&H app to your iPhone or Android device. Now here's your host, Alan Weitz.
Welcome to the B&H Photography Podcast. Today, John Harris and I will be talking about photography workshops, what they are good for, who they are good for, and why you should consider going to one. We'll also highlight the many different types of workshops available to the photographer and touch on trends within this rapidly growing industry. Our guests today are Alyssa Adams, photo editor and managing director of the Eddie Adams Workshop. Also with us today is Mirjam Evers, a multifaceted photographer and founder of PhotoQuest Adventures. Welcome to both of you. Before I begin, I just want to say that your feedback is really important to us. Send us a tweet at BHPhotoVideo with the hashtag BHPhotoPodcast or email us at podcast@bhphoto.com. If you're currently driving a car, wait until you get to where you're going or pull over to the side of the road before you're doing either of these wonderful deeds. We're going to start by talking about the Eddie Adams Workshop with Alyssa, and as well as talking about PhotoQuest Adventures with Mirjam. And after that, we're going to have an open conversation about workshops in general, and there's a lot to talk about. Let's start with Alyssa. Tell us about the Eddie Adams Workshop, its history, and anything else you want to throw in about it.
Hi, Alan. Thanks for having me here today.
Pleasure.
Sure. The Eddie Adams Workshop was started by photographer Eddie Adams approximately 29 years ago. And Eddie, when we first started it, we weren't married. We got married a year after, but it was 1988 or 89, so we're going on our 29th year. And Eddie was he's worked many places. First place he worked was the AP, where he won a Pulitzer for a shot in Vietnam. And so he started this workshop because, it was just something that he always wanted to do, and he just likes to share, and he likes to be with other photographers. And he bought this place upstate near the Catskills, a barn, with the idea of having this workshop.
Were workshops current?
Back then?
Yeah.
I think it was like back in the 80s, like I found some old paperwork of Eddie's, like handwritten. First he did this workshop called iPhoto, and I don't think it was a common thing. And, but I know that he had been to World Press, and he had won a lot of World Press awards, and I think he really liked that community. He never told me this. This is just conjecture on my part. So I think he wanted to have that kind of camaraderie and experience together here. So back in the 70s, he was looking for property, and he wanted something with a barn, and he got it, and it was just dilapidated. And over 20 years, he fixed it up. Anyway, getting back to the workshop, he was preparing this barn for this workshop. And back in the 80s, late 80s, when everybody was flush, all these companies, he was talking to Kodak and Nikon, and he says, I want to do this workshop, and I want to have 100 students come, and I want all my friends to come up there, and we're going to shoot pictures and show pictures and talk and whatever. And they said, well, gee, that sounds really great, Eddie, but why don't we start with 25 or 50, since you've never done this before? And he's like, no. So he just started big. And I think that's actually, and he said, I want it to be tuition free, and I want it to be big, and I want all my friends to come up and they're not going to get paid because they're going to do this for fun. So that's kind of what, kind of how it started.
Did he check with anybody else before he came up with it?
Yeah. Well, miraculously, they all came, and it was like a 4-day, weekend party, and it happens. It's always 4 days, and now it's always over Columbus Day weekend. And we pick 100. It's a juried process. You submit your work, and you're hand selected. And
is it open to everybody or anybody?
Yeah, you can either be a student or a young professional with 3 years or less experience.
Okay.
Yeah, so they come up there for a weekend of shooting, portfolio review, listening to speakers, and running around Sullivan County, shooting pictures, and at the end it culminates in a presentation.
And is it? It's primarily photojournalism.
It's primarily photojournalism, and that word is actually kind of a new word. Eddie didn't really like that word. I don't know. That was probably coined in the 40s or the 50s or something. I'm not sure, but he wanted to think of it as a photography workshop because he always liked to have interesting people up there, like some artists or some car photographers, like Ralph Gibson or people that just weren't just photojournalists.
Straight photojournalists, That's great.
And yeah, so that's kind of the basis of the workshop, and it's been going on for 30 years.
And is it still tuition free and still has the same set of guidelines, basically?
It's still tuition free, and the formula works. It's 100 students. We divide them up into 10 teams of 10, and they're each led by a photographer, an editor, a producer, and an IT person. And basically, each team will have a subject, dairies or farm life or something like that. And they'll go out and they'll shoot that assignment. And then the team puts together the show at the end, and they, like you said, it culminates in a show. And the format has kind of for some reason, it just works, and it's a big networking thing. You invite people like Joe Rosenthal, Gordon Parks, Izzy from Life. Those were his heroes. And he said, I'm so thrilled to be here, and I just want other people to be here as well. So
I saw some interesting videos that came out of the workshop while researching for this episode. When did video enter the picture, for lack of better words?
You mean in terms of video being produced at the workshop?
Yeah.
We kind of trickled it in. Like the first 10 years or whatever, it was all film. And then one year we did one digital team. The next year we did 2. Then we did 5. Then we did it all digital. And then, multimedia was the big thing. So like Brian Storm came up, and he did a couple of, he did 1 or 2 multimedia pieces. And then the next year there were more. And then we just said, hey, let's really blow this out. And so, every team had a multimedia facet. There was a short segment there where we did that, but now we've kind of gotten our focus back to stills. But people do incorporate sound. They do incorporate, some short pieces of video every once in a while. But, you're dealing with time. You're there for 4 days. And when you're editing media, you're trying to edit 3 hours worth of work, and it's
we know it goes
crazy.
into just doing this one. A podcast is supposed to go for under an hour. So,
but back in the film days, how did the processing and the developing work?
Somebody from the Time Life Library would drive a van down to the workshop and pick up all the film, and they process it and bring it back the next morning.
And who's the sponsor?
Kodak was our major sponsor then, and one time they brought up one of their processing trucks, so that was fun. So they processed right on the site. And Nikon has been with us from day one and still with us, which is pretty amazing in this world. And did you know that next year Nikon's going to be 100 years old, and the workshop is going to be 30 years old? So it's kind of amazing when you think about it. We've kind of been together a third of
their existence.
Exactly. So
great.
That's pretty cool. And
can you mention some photographers who started as students and have now gone on to great careers?
Sure. Tim Rasmussen was at Workshop 1, and he, I don't know if he's at ESPN now, formerly of the Denver Post, where under his, I think his paper won 2 different Pulitzers in the last couple of years, and then before that, I can't remember where he was, maybe Fredericksburg, I can't remember. But so that's Tim, and then Bruce Strong, who's up at Syracuse now, and then Dan Winters was there the very first year. The very first year we did this, the barn wasn't quite complete. We had an electric line. We amped up all the power, you know what I mean? And so there was an open ditch from the bottom of the hill, like a football field length up to the, or more up to the barn, and it was open, and it was a day before a workshop, and some kid came early, and there was this, what do you call it, a backhoe thing, just sitting there. And the kid says, hey, do you want me to fill this in? And Eddie goes, you could do that? He says, sure. So he filled it all in for us, and that kid was Dan Winters. And the next day, when the kids, right before the kids were coming up the hill, they walk up the hill, they get dropped off on a bus. And so they're walking up the hill at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is shining right in their eyes. They can't see anything. And we're all applauding them as they come up the hill. And that's kind of 5 minutes before they walked up the hill, the power just got kind of connected. So it was a scramble the first year. So he met Gregory Heisler there. He met Jay Maisel, and I, because at that point I think he was working at a newspaper. He was more of a photojournalist at that point. And then I think he got a little mentorship from those 2 guys. I think he came to the city and stayed with one of them or something. And obviously, Dan Winters' career is kind of amazing. And he came back to speak. like 2-3 years
2
ago?
years ago.
2 years ago. So
Photographers tend to be like real social animals, so this is a natural organism for
Yeah.
photographers. That's what
It
I'm
seems like
getting.
the camaraderie and the,
Right.
the
Yeah.
rustic setting and the,
yeah, yeah.
this
Yeah.
aspect is part of it, right? A
But
big part of
it is. Then that's why, I always said, Eddie, why don't we do one of these in the city? And he said, it's like, he's looked at me like, don't you understand? It's being isolated up there where there are no other distractions, that makes it a part of it.
Okay. Mirjam, tell us about PhotoQuest Adventures.
So, well, first of all, thanks for having me today.
Pleasure. Thanks for being
And
here.
I also want to clarify to the listeners that I actually work for Alyssa Adams. I'm the producer of the Eddie Ams workshop. So I know everything that she's talking about.
Yeah.
So PhotoQuest is an offshoot, or is it just
No.
something you came up with on your...
Yeah,
Give us the
it's-
background of how
it's,
this all came about.
My business partner, Najat Naba, and I started it 8 years ago.
Okay.
And it's very different from the Eddie Ams workshop. We do travel photography workshops all over the world.
For much smaller groups, I might add.
Yes, we don't like large groups. We only take 10 to 12 maximum. Most of the time we take 8 to 10 people. In some locations only 6. It depends on where we are in the world. We charge tuition. It's not like the Eddie Ams workshop. It's a travel photography workshop that is a little bit different. We take people to off the beaten path locations in the world. We try to go to countries where people don't want to travel to by themselves.
Do you
So-
go to these places before you go out on the world? Or do you... Or,
Most of the places I've been to.
but you've also been there for the first time with the group?
That doesn't happen very often. Most of the places
Because
we've
that could
been
be
to.
fun.
No, it is fun. It actually has happened that we, like, for example, we went to Papua New Guinea a few years ago, and it was also my first time when we went with the group. So, yeah, that's really exciting to go to a country for the first time and bring a group.
And do you go
You
to
know?
all, on all the tours, all the adventures?
I go on all the tours, and Najat and I, we split some of them. We also hire other photographers to teach. So sometimes it's the two of us, or sometimes it's me and another photographer. We work with different freelance photographers.
And usually the ratio is 2 or 1 photographer for every 5 guests?
Yeah, or 4 sometimes. So yeah, we keep them very small and intimate to make sure everybody has a great experience, because that's the thing about large groups. It's very hard to have that same experience when you're traveling in these countries.
Who is your workshopee? Is that the word that you would have?
Yeah.
Clientele.
Yeah, we
Who is your clientele?
they're mostly doctors, lawyers, accountants.
Ologists, I call them.
Yes.
I love them.
They're all, they love photography, they love traveling, they do photography as a hobby.
And they probably have amazing gear.
They have amazing gear, better than any of us.
I'm sure, yes.
And they shop at
And they
B&H.
shop at B&H. And we tell them what to buy and they buy it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, they're very well traveled, and we have a lot of repeat clients as well, which is great for us. We travel with every tour we do, we have at least 2 people that have been on trips with us before. They're all very talented photographers. It's interesting. We have a few clients who are so good. They could actually be working as a photographer.
Have you seen anybody do that? Change careers? to become
Yes, we
photographers?
have to our workshops. One of our clients, her name is Amy Harris. She's an engineer, and she just switched to becoming a photographer full time.
Really?
And she's
great.
Yeah, and she's amazing. But we see so many clients that are so talented. I always say, you guys should be working as a photographer, but how can you give up that salary?
I've
when
been
you're-
shooting for decades, but honestly, in the past year and a half, I started dabbling in surgery. So it might be the same thing. It might be connected. I don't know. You need to change.
This is a year-round?
Yeah, we do. We offer about 8 to 10 workshops a year, all international. In the past, we've done domestic workshops. We've offered lighting workshops, and city tours. But we kind of stayed away from those for a little while, and this year we're going to start doing New York City workshops again.
What are the most popular destinations? Can you say?
I was going to ask the artist also.
It's kind of weird because the more off the beaten path our destination is, the more popular. So like Papua New Guinea, we did a couple of years ago for the first time, and that filled right away. I think people are looking for workshops and countries where they really wouldn't go to by themselves because they would be too scared. So they're looking for something that's different. As you know, there's thousands of workshop companies out there. They're all doing the same thing. They're all competing. So we try to offer destinations that are a little bit different, where we can give access to places and people. And, we've been doing it for a very long time, actually. So I think it's important to offer not only clients coming away with really good images. We set up a lot of images for them and shoots, but also having that cultural experience, meeting with locals. We really involve our groups with local activities and giving them this cultural experience.
So travel and tourism is a big part of it also.
Yeah.
What about language? Do you make sure that you have somebody who speaks the native tongue wherever you go? Or have you ever just gone in and saying, let's just see what happens?
It's between Najat and myself, we speak 9 languages. So that's a really huge benefit for us.
We can get you a job here in the store if you speak 9 languages. Just keep it in mind. That goes right up. That's good around here.
So we actually just returned from Egypt and Jordan a few days ago. And we were there for 10 days, and I don't speak Arabic, but Najat does. So it's amazing because we work with local fixers and guides, and we have a really good tour operator we work with that works with, for example, Egypt Tourist Office. But being there and, even if you try to ask fixers or your guides to set something up, like we wanted to do a shoot for sunset, for example, at the pyramids, and there were no tourists there. It was just our small group and some Chinese tourists. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to have some camels with the sunset. And, Najat's like negotiating and talking to them. And then it gets done. And it's a huge benefit when we travel. And also we can hear what's going on between the guide and the drivers. And, we make sure our clients don't get ripped off because that happens a lot too. They're trying to make money off of us. And that's a normal thing. And of course, we give back and we donate to charities and schools and villages. But, our trips are not shopping trips, but we do offer some time on a tour for people to buy things, and we make sure that they don't get ripped off. Because
you mentioned giving back. Can you talk a bit about the Sustainable Travel International?
Yeah, what we do is partner up with different organizations. Just recently, for example, Alyssa knows him as well. We partnered up with John Rowe. He has a organization called Omo Child. So we're doing a trip to Ethiopia, and then we're gonna donate money to the Omo Child organization. And we also bring like printers or these Fuji Instax, just little things like that to just give pictures. We were recently in Panama for New Year's Eve, and it was very hard to photograph the tribes in the San Blas Islands in Panama. Mm-hmm. They were giving us a really hard time, and then I was like, maybe we need to try something else. So I started taking little pictures and giving them out. And then all of a sudden, the whole town was lined up. They all wanted a picture. And it's nice. And we've done that before in really remote places where people have never even seen a picture of themselves. And it's so rewarding to
That's one of the unique things about a Polaroid or instant photograph.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to look at the picture in the back of the screen of the camera, but when you could hand somebody a physical print, that goes so far.
And is there an application process or?
No, I mean, it's pretty much, we take anybody, beginners.
You don't need to see a portfolio?
No. It's really like if people are interested in the destination and they can sign up, register. So it's open to any level of photographer as well.
And the people stay together? Is there kind of a camaraderie in the community?
Yeah, I mean, it's, they're all well-traveled people. Most of the time, I would say 95% of the time we get well-traveled people that love photography, and so it's
they have what to talk about.
Like-minded group.
You don't get, for example, somebody who wants to stay in a 5-star hotel and the other people who want to do their own lodging in a pension.
No, we stay together as a group.
Okay. But your lodging spans all those different types of places.
That's right. Yeah, we travel around. We don't stay in one place, and we also stay in 5-star hotels where possible, not in very remote locations, obviously. Then we stay in the best possible, like in Ethiopia is one of them. In the Omo Valley, there are no 5-star lodges, but you stay in the best possible locations. And the clients know that. It's not like they're going to sign up and be in for a surprise that, it's really like a -1-star hotel.
So it's roughing it in your group basically means having breakfast by the pool.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah. And we do glamping instead of camping. Yeah.
And do you guys help with paperwork for travel and immunizations if necessary? Or are people just kind of on their own and they show up?
We kind of help them, and some clients, they really are busy. We really try to make everything as easy as possible for them. Really, they sign up and they show up with their gear, and then the rest is all taken care of.
What about the photography side of it, like the educational side of it?
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah. No, go
Go
ahead.
ahead, you
I was
ask it.
going to do
Yeah,
that.
no, please.
Yeah. We work with individual clients, and like I said before, we have a lot of repeat clients, so it's nice for them to learn something new. So we always push them. If we have beginners that really don't know anything about photography, they don't know anything about their camera settings. They just bought a camera from B&H, and they have the camera in the box still, and they don't know what to do. We help them set it up. We teach beginning. We teach everything. What happens too is that we have so many people that are advanced photographers, and they also help each other out. So it's a nice thing. We have, the official photographer teaching, but then we have our clients also. They're helping each other, and everybody learns from each other, which is a really great environment to be in. It's the same as actually being at the Eddie Amps workshop. The team leaders that are there for the 10 teams, they always come away from that workshop being really inspired again, and are excited about photography.
About the camaraderie and the collaboration and inspiration. But do you have classes? Do you start the day with a type of class?
Yeah, we do. It's very casual, but we offer reviews of their work every other night, and we do everything. I mean, anything the clients want to. If they say we want to do a Photoshop class or whatever they want to learn. When we do night photography workshops, obviously we focus on night photography, and there would be a class before we go out to do a night photography shoot. We teach them how to shoot, etc. So we also teach lighting. If they want to learn how to light, we always bring that lighting gear with us.
What kind of gear? Is speed light type stuff, or
we bring
larger?
Both. Yeah, I bring speed lights or Profoto B2s.
Okay, well,
similar
those are ideal.
Yeah, and they're so small and portable. So, yeah, we kind of do everything.
So you have those, and if somebody says, "Hey, I want to try something,"
we always bring them.
So
Yeah,
that's a good value there too.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break and come back and talk about other aspects of workshops.
We hope you're enjoying this edition of the B&H Photography Podcast. Send us a tweet at BHPhotoVideo, #BHPhotoPodcast.
There are a lot of workshops out there. There's no shortage of workshops. If you Google it, you could spend your whole day just fishing through them. Some are better than others. Some of them have not very good reputations if you read the reviews on it, because I think what's happening, and I see it online a lot, is that a lot of photographers, a lot of people in the creative arts in general, it's harder to earn a living these days. And workshops seem like a good avenue for making up income or paying your bills if photography is no longer doing it. And also there's some people who are downright not really qualified. They might be able to take a good picture. It doesn't mean they're qualified in running a workshop and teaching and instructing and creating a great atmosphere and a great experience for photographers. We talk about that a little bit. How's this affected you guys?
It's a problem for sure. And we know a lot of people that have traveled with other workshop companies, and they give us feedback and they complain, and it's definitely an issue. And I know photographers are they're all struggling. That's a fact. So they're trying to come up with other ways to make money, like you said. But it doesn't make them qualified to run a workshop company.
Here's a question for both of you. Somebody who's going to be listening to this podcast saying, hey, I've thought about workshops, I've been considering it, and I don't know what's best for me, because everybody has a little need and a niche. And if they're looking to look around for a workshop to do, what kind of questions would you recommend they ask?
Well, they should look at, obviously, if there is a program or a schedule, and, who the teachers are.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, the cost of it and where you're staying. And just, if they have a mission statement or if they have.
Well, you need to look toward your area of interest too. As you mentioned, wedding photographer, and we know people that run night photography workshops.
It's
and
a
there's-
specialized industry right now.
Basically, it is very specialized.
And some notable people will have a list of workshops on their site or their blog. I think if you look for, if there's somebody that you trust, either a vendor or somebody, and you look at who all the people are that they're recommending, I think that's actually a good way to
That's a good point. Look at all the logos on the bottom of the page.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think
Very
you
good
can
point.
kind of break down workshops into different categories. I mean, you have ones that are, let's call them educational to some degree, like the main workshop is well known, or even out west, the Santa Fe,
Yeah.
where you get, I would say, more students, people that are looking to develop their craft, and you have others where they are specifically toward night photography, like we mentioned, and then you have travel-related workshops where people really, it's a combination of photography and adventure or tourism, whatever you want to call it. So I think that'd be a good place to start. I mean, knowing what you want to do with the workshop.
Right.
I think it's hard too because if you're interested in, for example, going to, let's say, Bhutan or Papua New Guinea, and you're looking at all the other workshop companies that offer it, if you've never been to the country, you don't really know what to look for. I do because I put the trips together.
Right.
But if you're
Credibility.
if you're an amateur photographer or you're just interested in traveling, you don't really know what to look for and what to ask. I mean, like, for example, if I was a doctor or a lawyer and I could afford it, I wouldn't go to a country and stay in a 2-star hotel and be miserable. I obviously want to stay in a 5-star hotel,
But isn't that part of the thrill, staying?
No, it is, of
locals?
course. That's definitely a thrill. But I'm just saying, like, you have to look at the quality, what's being offered by a workshop. Like, for example, I notice a lot of workshop companies, they offer a workshop somewhere, and then the people have to carpool. They have to rent cars and carpool to the destinations. And I'm like, why would you sign up for a workshop where you
That's
have to
not
drive
my
your
idea
own
of it,
car?
no.
And it doesn't matter if you're staying if you're camping or if you're however you're doing the workshop, you shouldn't be driving to a destination to shoot. Like, that's just cutting corners by the company who's putting on the workshop.
Unless they gave each participant the Porsche 911. In that case,
That's right.
I'm game.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's one thing like that we always do. We always charter buses or vans, or we take care of all the logistics. But here, these workshop people have to rent their own car. They have to book their own hotel rooms, and that's just, to me, is one thing that is a good question to ask.
That's an excellent question.
Well, it seems to me one of the most important parts of a workshop experience is the togetherness,
the camaraderie, and I
and if
agree.
you're driving separately to a location, a meeting, it doesn't really fit the
And I
bill.
know the workshops that do that, they're obviously saving money because they're not chartering a bus or a van, So these little things I think people should look for when they're signing up for a workshop.
These are tensions you don't need, especially when you're landing in a place where you've never been before and no one speaks your language. You want to know that you're being taken care of. That's important.
Yeah, and also the hotels. Like, everybody should do research on the hotels you're staying. Even though there's an itinerary listed, they should check out the hotels and look at their website and look at reviews of the hotel, because you could stay in a 4-5-star hotel. It's listed as 4 or 5-star hotel, and then when you actually read the reviews on Yelp, it turns out to be a dump.
Yeah. They do change the linens every single day, but unfortunately, it's from one room to the next. So, you got to read the small type.
Yeah, and that's I think that's what people should look for,
Personally, I think I'm the type of photographer who likes to separate myself and kind of go for a long walk by myself.
Okay, it's two of us.
So can you speak on the idea that workshops maybe aren't for everybody? And have you had the experience where a photographer comes to the group settings and it just doesn't work for them?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had the same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do get people that kind of want to do their own thing. And we give them that time. If we go into a village or we say, you know what, you have 3-4 hours, do your own thing. We'll meet back at dinner.
Right.
And they do their own thing. Actually, on this recent Egypt and Jordan trip we were on, somebody was shooting with a pinhole camera. So she needed a lot of time to shoot everywhere. So she really needed to have her space, literally, and do her own thing. So we would, we worked that out.
I didn't mention earlier that the Eddie Adams workshop, I didn't mention who the faculty are. The faculty are people,
please.
the faculty are people like the photo editor of the Washington Post or, the Denver Post, or like from different publications. And you're working with people who are in the industry, and, the photographers that are published, all over the world, Pulitzer Prize winning photographers, involved. And so, as a student, you would assume that everybody would want to do their best, and everybody's given an assignment. But it's always surprising because there'll be one person that'll go to their assignment and they'll say, well, and they'll come back with no pictures and they'll say, well, it just wasn't interesting to me or something like that. So, that's the person, you're every once in a while you come across one person.
As the artist in the group.
Yeah, and it's fine to be an artist, but like come back with something, It's like
The Eddie Adams to some degree is almost a career builder or a career starter for a lot of people. That's a different type of situation than the travel one, obviously.
Yeah.
They're kind of required to do something a little more. They're also invited scholarship winners to some degree, right?
Right. Well, it's a tuition-free workshop, so on some level, they have to they have to pay the room and board and they have to get there. But other than there really is no tuition, and all the faculty, all the people that are there, the photographers, photo editors, they're all donating their time. So, everybody wants to be there, and everybody for the most part wants to do a great job. But there's always going to be somebody that has a different idea. Yeah.
Have you ever had instructors who are really very good and very well accomplished, but aren't really good as leaders? At the end of the day, it turns out they didn't really know how to communicate what to look for and how to get people to think, get them juiced? It's
interesting. When you're dealing with that many different people, you're dealing with 10 teams, you're dealing with 10 different photographers, 10 different photo editors, 10 different producers, so that's 30 people. And each one and within their own group, those three will have a different dynamic. So, some people are very hands-on. Some people are not hands-on at all, and some people will come up with an idea. Like Vincent LaFerre was a team leader one year, and he said, okay, we're going to shoot all in black and white, and we're going to do the decisive moment. That was a very impressive show at the end of it. And then other people are okay, like, okay, this is the town of Liberty. Go, and those people also, like, the people that are self-starters, they'll come up with something very interesting. But, and then, some of the groups, like the editors, will let the students be in on the edit, and some of them will be like, you go over there. I don't want you to be a part of this.
What do the editors do during the day? They're just having a glass of wine while all the photographers are out shooting all day?
Are they playing golf? What are they doing?
They're playing golf.
Lucky. And do the leaders, or in your case, do you guys shoot when you're on these trips, or do you tend to not?
I shoot, but I always help the clients if they need help or walk with them. Mm-hmm. But we've experienced that as well. The good thing is that we, if we hire other photographers to help teach, that if they're not good, we don't hire them again. Mm-hmm. And it's happened to us too, where we hired photographers who are just really shooting for themselves the whole time and don't really spend time with the clients or have no desire to help them. So
that's not good.
That's a slow burn. Ooh.
Yeah. Then you work with them once and then you cut them off. So, yeah, but it happens.
Can we go back to the subject that we touched on earlier, which is this idea of photographers turning to their own workshops as a ways to either make ends meet? I mean, there's several photographers that I've dealt with here who are what I would call very successful photographers who are now kind of transitioning away from shooting. It could be a stage in their life, but it seems to me more about the fact that it's more lucrative for them to run workshops than it is to go out and shoot photos. Is that a trend that you've seen? And has it diluted the market to a problematic degree?
I mean, I think it's a fact that a lot of photographers are struggling. They're not working as much with budget cuts, newspapers folding, magazines folding. So everything has changed, as we all know, in the last few years. So, a lot of photographers are starting to do workshops. But even though they are successful photographers, doesn't mean that they have that knowledge and experience to run proper workshops.
Or know how to communicate the information.
I was going to say, I think being a photographer is a very interesting experience. And I think it... a lot of photographers are natural teachers because they do have to think things through whatever they're doing.
And photography is communication.
Right. And you have to think through what you're doing, whether you're on assignment or you're in a studio or whatever. You have to like think through the process and everything. So I think that some of them could be natural teachers, because they have to go through that process.
Cool beans.
Are we allowed to do a commercial?
Yeah, sure.
For anybody that's out there that is a photography student or a young professional with 3 years or less experience, the applications for the workshop are now open. And the deadline is the end of May. And we require that you submit 20 images. And, we do charge an application fee. At one point we never charged one, but now we have to because it's just the times. And also don't be afraid to submit your work. I mean, some people are like, oh, I've heard of the Eddie Adams workshop. I don't think I'm good enough. And, we take 100 students. That's a large group. So your chances could be actually pretty good. So just.
Would you say that the applicants are getting better, more sophisticated over the years, the photographers in general?
Yeah, I think people are just smarter, and also what you also see when you look at the applications is you can see how the professors are actually teaching. Like it used, when we first started doing this, there was okay, you shoot your singles, you shoot your sports, you shoot your politician, and you've got 5 frames for maybe your own little story. And that used to be just kind of how a lot of the student portfolios came in, and you could kind of predict what school they were from or whatever. And I think people are now more a little bit more narrative based, a little bit more story based, and they're a little bit more sophisticated. But
the students stay in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah, right.
That's the name of it.
Right.
Katz's 5-star hotel, yes. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Mirjam. Thank you, John, our producer and my co-pilot. And thank you, Jason, our engineer. Check out Eddie Adams at eddieadamsworkshop.com and PhotoQuest at photoquestadventures.com. Give us your opinions on Twitter at BHPhotoVideo with the hashtag BHPhotoPodcast, and please rate and leave a review on iTunes. My name is Alan Weitz. Thank you so much for tuning in today.